Close your eyes and imagine an ancient ocean stretching endlessly beneath a golden sky. The waves move gently, whispering secrets of a world long forgotten. Somewhere far beyond the Pillars of Hercules, beyond the edge of maps and memory, there once stood a city unlike any other. A city said to gleam like crystal in the morning sun, its towers reaching toward heaven, its walls glowing with aurichalcum, a legendary metal that blazed like living fire. This was Atlantis, the lost city, the crown of the ancient world. As always, I'd love to know, where are you listening from and what time you are now down below in the comments. I love seeing where everyone's tuning in from. Whether you're settling in for the night or just curious about where these legends came from, I'm glad you're here. Don't forget to subscribe and share it to someone who loves it too. According to the oldest legends, Atlantis was not merely a city built by mortals. It was born from the love of a god. Poseidon, mighty lord of the seas, fell in love with a mortal woman named Cleito. To protect her, he raised an island from the depths of the ocean floor. He shaped the land into concentric rings of water and earth, placing her atop a sacred hill at its center. There, surrounded by shimmering canals and fertile fields, Cleito bore Poseidon 10 sons. The eldest was Atlas, and it is from his name that the island became known as Atlantis. The Atlanteans flourished under the guidance of their divine father. Their land was a paradise rich in natural beauty. Rivers of fresh water flowed through green valleys. Trees heavy with fruits shaded marble walkways. Animals roamed freely, unafraid of man, for in Atlantis all life lived in harmony. The people were noble, their hearts aligned with divine wisdom. They built their temples from white, red, and black stone, each block cut so precisely it fit without need for mortar. At the very center of the city stood the great temple of Poseidon. Its walls were plated in silver, its roof in gold, and within its sacred chamber glowed a towering pillar of radiant crystal, said to hold the very heartbeat of Atlantis. Beneath this temple, a vast energy source pulsed from deep within the earth, providing limitless power. The Atlanteans harnessed it through channels and crystals, lighting their cities without fire and powering ships that glided silently over the sea. Their knowledge seemed impossible by modern standards. They built airships that floated as if weightless, and aqueducts that carried pure water across mountains. Some say they even possessed the secret of anti-gravity, drawing power directly from the planet's magnetic core. No civilization could rival the grandeur of Atlantis. It was said that the Atlanteans had inherited wisdom from a forgotten age, a time when gods and mortals walked together beneath the stars. But even the brightest light casts a shadow, and as the Atlanteans rose in power and prosperity, a quiet change began to stir within them. In their hearts, where once dwelled humility and reverence, pride began to take root. For now, Atlantis still stands tall, its reflection glittering on the surface of a peaceful sea. Yet deep beneath the calm waters, forces of fate are beginning to awaken, and the story of Atlantis, like all great empires, will be one not just of glory, but of downfall. The morning sun rose over the gleaming towers of Atlantis, casting golden light across the island's many rings of land and sea. From the highest palace balcony, one could see merchant ships gliding through sapphire-blue canals, their sails catching the gentle breeze. Farmers walked the fertile fields, gathering crops in abundance. The land produced more grain, fruits, and precious metals than any other place on earth. It seemed that everything the Atlanteans touched flourished. But this prosperity was no accident. It was the result of knowledge and power passed down from the gods themselves. As generations passed, the people of Atlantis mastered the forces of nature. Their scholars studied the stars and charted the movements of distant planets. Their philosophers explored the mysteries of the soul and the fabric of reality. The Atlanteans believed that all life was connected through an invisible energy, and by aligning themselves with this cosmic flow, they could achieve perfect balance between mind, body, and spirit. Their cities were designed with sacred geometry, built to amplify this energy. It is said that when one stood at the center of the great temple of Poseidon, they could hear the very heartbeat of the earth. And so, Atlantis soon became the center of trade for the entire known world. Ships from Ethiopia, Egypt, and Iberia came bearing gold, spices, and exotic animals, all to be exchanged for Atlantean technology and wisdom. Their naval fleet was unmatched. Sleek vessels made of enchanted wood sliced through water with unnatural speed. Each ship was equipped with crystals that captured the sun's light by day and released it as glowing energy by night. Some accounts speak of Atlantean explorers crossing entire oceans in a matter of days, reaching lands unknown to the rest of humanity. But the true power of Atlantis lay not in its wealth or technology, but in its unity. The 10 kings, descended from Poseidon, ruled together in harmony. They met every year in the Golden Temple, where they made decisions not for personal gain, but for the good of all. Each king placed his hand on the crystal pillar at the center of the hall and swore an oath of honesty, peace, and justice. As long as this sacred bond was honored, Atlantis remained under divine protection. And so the Atlanteans continued to prosper. Their people were strong, their minds enlightened, and their spirits at peace. Travelers who came to Atlantis often described it as a glimpse of paradise, an echo of the world as it was meant to be. It seemed that Atlantis had achieved what every civilization longed for: perfect harmony with nature, divine favor from the gods, and a future without limit. Yet beneath the surface of this golden age, destiny was quietly shifting. For in times of great abundance, the seeds of desire begin to grow. Pride, ambition, and power, silent at first, were preparing to awaken in the hearts of men. With each passing century, the strength of Atlantis continued to grow. Their ships traversed vast oceans, establishing colonies on distant shores. The Atlanteans were welcomed as bringers of peace and knowledge. In every land they touched, they built temples and canals, teaching local tribes how to cultivate crops and harness the elements. At first, their intentions were pure. They believed they were fulfilling a sacred duty to spread enlightenment across the world. But as their influence expanded, so too did their desire for more. The kings of Atlantis began to see their power not as a gift from the gods, but as a birthright. Whispers of superiority echoed through the grand halls of their palaces. Some began to claim that Atlantis was not only the most advanced civilization on Earth, but its rightful ruler. This shift was not immediate, but subtle, like a shadow creeping over a sunlit land. Councils that once met in harmony now found themselves divided. There were those who wished to remain faithful to the old ways of balance and peace, but others, young, ambitious rulers, spoke openly of forming an empire that would stretch across continents. They believed Atlantis was destined to command, not just guide. The people, too, began to change. Where once they lived simply, now they desired luxury. Gold no longer symbolized purity. It became a measure of status. Their temples grew larger, not for worship, but for spectacle. Banquets filled with rich foods and exotic entertainment replaced the quiet meditations of their ancestors. Pride had entered their hearts as gently and silently as the tide. Yet even as this change took root, Atlantis still stood as the envy of the world. Its armies were unmatched. Its scholars were revered. The energy at the heart of the island, the sacred source beneath the great temple, continued to pulse with unimaginable power. Some believed it was the very soul of Atlantis. Others began to wonder if it could be controlled and used not just for prosperity, but for domination. As the kings argued in their sacred chamber, far beneath the earth, the crystal pillar glowed with an unsteady light, flickering as though it sensed the turning of fate. The Atlanteans stood at a crossroads, to remain guardians of peace or to become conquerors of the world. And all the while, the sea watched, silently, waiting. As the ambition of the Atlantean kings grew, so too did their desire to expand beyond their island shores. The first campaigns were swift and diplomatic. Atlantean envoys offered alliances in exchange for tribute. Many nations accepted willingly, gaining access to knowledge, healing practices, and advanced technologies beyond anything they had ever seen. To join the Atlantean sphere was to step into a more enlightened age. But not all nations welcomed them with open arms. Some rulers resisted their influence, fearing that this so-called guidance was nothing more than the beginning of domination. And so the Atlanteans unleashed their armies. Their warriors wore gleaming armor forged from orichalcum, a metal that could withstand both fire and blade. Their ships cut through the water at unnatural speeds, gliding silently like predators beneath the moonlight. With weapons powered by crystals and energy pulled from the earth itself, they were unstoppable. These were not mere invasions, they were spectacles of power. Entire cities surrendered at the sight of Atlantean warships appearing at their harbors like ghosts from a dream. The Atlanteans justified their conquests by claiming they were bringing order and civilization. But to many it seemed that the once peaceful guardians of knowledge had become conquerors. The Atlantean kings gathered regularly in the Golden Temple to celebrate their victories. Maps carved into crystal slabs showed their dominion stretching far across the seas, from the forests of Europe to the deserts of Africa, and even rumored to the far lands beyond the Western Ocean. They ruled not through fear alone, but through awe. Their empire was a marvel, a living testament to what civilization could achieve. Yet, beneath the surface of triumph, something else was stirring. The divine energy that flowed beneath Atlantis, once pure and steady, had begun to flicker. The priests, keepers of ancient wisdom, warned the kings that the balance of the world was shifting. The more they took from other lands, the more unstable their own power became. But their warnings went unheard. The kings, now intoxicated by their victories, believed that Atlantis was untouchable. They spoke not of harmony, but of destiny, of a future in which Atlantis would not just guide the world, but rule it completely. And as the people rejoiced in their newfound glory, the ocean around them remained calm, too calm, like a breath held in silence before the storm. As Atlantis stood at the height of its power, its gleaming towers reaching ever higher into the sky, a subtle but powerful change began to sweep across the island. The spirit of the people, once humble and devoted to balance, grew restless. Wealth flowed without end. Empires bowed before them. And slowly, very slowly, pride slipped into their hearts. The Golden Temple, once a place of worship and meditation, became a hall of political debates and royal feasts. The sacred pools that reflected the stars were now surrounded by nobles boasting of their conquests. The songs once sung in honor of Poseidon now praised the strength of the Atlantean fleet. The kings no longer spoke of duty, they spoke of destiny. The priests of the inner sanctum, those who still remembered the old ways, met in secret. They had felt tremors beneath the earth, not physical tremors, but spiritual ones. The life force of the island, the energy that powered its light crystals and healing waters, was growing unstable. The priests cast sacred stones into the oracle pool, watching as ripples formed unnatural shapes. The vision that came was terrifying. They saw the great rings of Atlantis cracking, towers sinking into the sea, fire rising from the underwater vents. They saw a wave, a wall of water so vast it blotted out the sun, and in that final image they saw silence, a silence that echoed the end of an age. Desperate, the priests approached the Council of Kings. They begged them to abandon their conquests, to return to the old laws of harmony, to restore the sacred balance between mankind and the earth. But the kings only laughed. They accused the priests of fear-mongering, of clinging to an old world that no longer existed. And then the sky darkened. That night, as the moon cast its pale light over Atlantis, an unnatural thunder rolled across the heavens. A bolt of light, not lightning, but something purer, divine, struck the temple of Poseidon. Statues crumbled, sacred fires went out. A single message echoed across the minds of the people. Atlantis has forgotten its promise. The gods had spoken, not in words, but through the forces of nature itself. It was a warning, one last chance to turn away from arrogance and return to humility. But dawn came, and with it, denial. The kings brushed off the event as a strange storm. The feasts continued, the conquests persisted, and beneath their feet, the heart of Atlantis began to beat out of rhythm. The fall had not yet begun, but its shadow had entered the land.
As the warnings from the heavens faded into memory, a quiet unrest began to spread through the streets of Atlantis. Not everyone had forgotten the old ways. Among the citizens were those who still remembered the stories passed down through generations, the sacred covenant made with the gods, the promise that Atlantis would be a beacon of wisdom, not a force of domination. In the lower city, where scholars and healers lived, whispers of rebellion began. They met by moonlight beneath the ancient fig trees, speaking not of war, but of restoration. These citizens did not seek to overthrow the kings, they sought to awaken them. At the center of the movement was a woman named Seraphine, the last oracle of Atlantis. She possessed the rare gift of sight, not from magic, but from perfect harmony with the pulse of the island itself. When she touched the earth, it spoke to her, and on one fateful night, it revealed a vision that would seal the fate of Atlantis forever. She saw two futures. In the first, Atlantis would surrender its greed, return the stolen treasures, and renew its vow to the gods. The earth would heal, the waters would calm, and the island would become eternal, a guiding light for all civilizations to come. But the second vision was darker than any before it. In it, she saw the kings stubbornly clinging to power, refusing to yield. She saw the sky tearing open, great quakes splitting the island apart, and the sea swallowing everything in a single night of fire and water. In this vision, Atlantis was not merely destroyed, it was erased, its memory scattered like mist upon the waves. The oracle knew what must be done. She gathered her followers and spoke the final prophecy. When the golden palace reaches to the clouds and the armies stretch across the horizon, the heart of Atlantis will break. Only in returning what was taken shall the island be spared. But if pride remains, the sea shall claim all. Word of this prophecy reached the kings, but instead of trembling, they reacted with fury. They declared the oracle a traitor, calling her visions lies meant to weaken the empire. Her followers were banished, the sacred gatherings forbidden. Yet even as the kings silenced the truth, nature itself began to speak louder. Winds changed direction. Animals fled the island. Strange lights flickered beneath the ocean at night, as if something deep within the earth were awakening. And in their dreams, the people began to hear a sound, a heartbeat, not the heartbeat of a human, but of the island itself. A restless heartbeat, calling out a warning no one could ignore for much longer.
The days that followed were unlike any Atlantis had ever known. What began as subtle shifts in nature soon became undeniable. The once gentle tides grew violent, crashing against the marble walls of the harbor with relentless force. Birds that had lived on the island for centuries took flight and never returned. Even the great sea turtles, creatures sacred to Poseidon, moved away from the shores as if they sensed an ancient danger rising from the deep. The people murmured among themselves. They remembered the oracle's words. They remembered the divine bolt that struck the temple. But the kings commanded silence. Any mention of prophecy or divine wrath was forbidden. The royal messengers assured everyone that the disturbances were natural, temporary, nothing more than a shifting of the seasons. But the earth told a different story. Deep beneath the great rings of the city, where the Atlanteans drew power from crystal chambers, something had changed. The crystals, once glowing with steady light, began to flicker. Some shattered without warning. Healers found that their waters no longer cured sickness as they once did. Farmers watched their crops wither despite perfect weather. It was as though the life force of the island was being drained. The final festival of the season was held to ease the people's fears. It was a magnificent celebration, with music echoing across the silver bridges and lanterns floating across the sky like stars. But as laughter filled the air, the ground trembled, lightly at first, then violently. Goblets fell from tables, statues cracked, the music stopped. In the silence that followed, a deep rumble echoed from beneath the city. The high priest, once silent under the orders of the king, could no longer contain his terror. He rushed into the golden courtyard, lifted his staff toward the heavens and cried out, "The gods are calling back what we have stolen. Atlantis must kneel or be broken." But his words were swallowed by chaos. The sky lit up with streaks of light, not from the sun or stars, but from fissures in the very air itself, as though the fabric of reality itself had begun to tear. And then came the sign that no one could deny. From the center of the island, where the crystal chambers lay hidden, rose a pillar of flame, silent, bright, unnatural. It reached toward the sky like a finger of the earth itself, pointing in judgment. The final days had begun. The kings still clung to their thrones, the people clung to hope, but deep in every heart there was a knowing, a quiet acceptance that the great empire of Atlantis was nearing its final breath. Night fell upon Atlantis for what would be the last time. The skies, once filled with silver starlight, were now shrouded by swirling dark clouds, dancing with flickers of blue fire. The sea was strangely still, too still, like a great beast holding its breath before awakening. In the heart of the city, the kings gathered in the golden palace, still refusing to surrender their pride. They called upon their engineers, their scholars, their warriors, demanding solutions, demanding control. But no command could tame what was rising below. The crystal chambers, buried deep beneath the island, erupted with light so fierce it split the ground above. The earth convulsed, towers shook, bridges shattered. A great roar echoed through every street, not the sound of war, but of the island itself, crying out in agony. People fled to the highest terraces, clutching children, calling out to the gods they had forgotten. Some prayed, some wept, some simply stood in silence, staring up at the trembling sky. Then came the moment. The water withdrew. Mile after mile, the water pulled away from the shores, revealing the ocean floor like the unveiling of a hidden kingdom of coral and stone. Fish flopped helplessly upon the wet sand. The people watched in disbelief. And then they heard it, a distant rumble, deep, relentless, growing louder. The water was returning, a wall of it, towering higher than the highest spire, rushed toward the island with the fury of the ancient gods. The final judgment had come. The wave struck with unimaginable force. Marble towers crumbled like sand. The golden palace was swallowed in an instant. Fire burst from beneath the earth, meeting the sea in a storm of steam and light. The once mighty rings of Atlantis twisted and fell into the churning depths. And yet, in the midst of the destruction, there was stillness in the hearts of some. They knew this was not the end of Atlantis, but its transformation. As the island was claimed by the sea, the light of the crystal core glowed one final time, pulsing like the heartbeat of a dying star, and then faded into silence beneath the waves. In the dark stillness that followed, there remained only water. Where Atlantis once stood in brilliance and glory, now lay the endless ocean, silent, watchful, eternal. Though Atlantis vanished beneath the sea, it did not vanish from memory. In the years that followed its disappearance, sailors spoke of strange lights shimmering beneath the waves. They told stories of a faint glow rising from the ocean floor, as though an ancient city still pulsed with the remnants of life. Some claimed to hear distant music when the sea was calm, a choir of voices carried by the wind, singing in a language long forgotten. Others whispered that the Atlanteans did not die at all, but transformed, that in the final moment, guided by the ancient crystal, their spirits merged with the waters, becoming guardians of the deep. Their wisdom, their dreams, their warnings preserved in the silent currents, waiting for mankind to listen once more. Legends began to spread across continents. In Egypt, priests spoke of a drowned kingdom that once shared its wisdom with their ancestors. In Greece, philosophers told the tale of a mighty island punished by the gods for its pride. In the Americas, shamans described a land of shining towers swallowed by the sea after its people forgot the laws of harmony. Though the names differed, the story remained the same. A great civilization rose to the heights of power and was lost when it turned away from balance. Yet the story of Atlantis is not one of sorrow alone. It is a message that greatness without humility is a path to ruin, a message that the earth is alive, and when its voice is ignored, it will speak through storm and flame. A message that the wisdom of the past is not truly lost, only waiting to be remembered. Some say that one day, when humanity is ready, when the world has once again learned the sacred balance between power and peace, the sea will part and Atlantis will rise once more. Its crystal towers will shine beneath the sun, and the lost knowledge of ages will return to guide mankind into a new era of enlightenment. Until then, Atlantis sleeps. It rests in the cradle of the ocean, not as a forgotten ruin, but as a heartbeat beneath the waves, steady, patient, eternal. Beneath the silent waves of the Atlantic Ocean, far below where sunlight dares to travel, ancient chambers lie hidden beneath the seabed. Here, encased in crystal and stone, rests the lost knowledge of Atlantis. It is said these were not ordinary libraries, but living archives, structures that breathed with energy, where walls could respond to thought, and knowledge was not read but experienced. Within these luminous halls, Crystal tablets held the secrets of creation, the harmony of the stars, and the hidden forces that bind the universe. Atlantean scholars believed that energy was the language of the divine. They harnessed crystal resonances to communicate across vast distances, to heal with vibration, and to power an entire continent without a single flame or drop of oil. These were not superstitions, but advanced sciences, sciences which modern humanity is only beginning to rediscover. Some legends say that deep beneath the pyramids of Giza, in the temples of the Yucatan Peninsula, and beneath forgotten Indian temples, fragments of this Atlantean technology still hum softly, buried and dormant, waiting for the right vibration to awaken them. When Atlantis began to fall, a group of wise guardians, spiritual leaders known as the Keepers of the Dawn, made a fateful decision. They took the most sacred knowledge and carried it across the world. They journeyed to Egypt, teaching the first pharaohs about sacred geometry and the path to the afterlife. They sailed to the Yucatan Peninsula, guiding the Maya in the art of building temples aligned with the stars. Some traveled east to the land that would one day be India, where they whispered the first words of the ancient Vedas. Though the empire sank, its memory did not. The wisdom of Atlantis lived on in symbols carved into temple walls, in songs sung to the stars, and in the silent meditations of mystics who remembered. Even today, strange similarities connect ancient civilizations oceans apart. Pyramids, serpent gods, crystal skulls, and myths of great floods. Coincidence, or echoes of a single forgotten source? Many believe that fragments of Atlantean consciousness still linger, calling out through dreams, déjà vu, and the quiet moments between waking and sleep. They say that when you close your eyes and see a city of shining towers surrounded by the sea, you are not imagining it. You are remembering. There is a prophecy whispered not in words, but in vibrations felt deep within the heart. It says that Atlantis will not rise from the ocean as a city of stone, but as an awakening in the soul of humanity. The Atlanteans believed that everything in existence moves through cycles: birth, fall, sleep, and rebirth. And now, after thousands of years of silence, the spirit of Atlantis begins to stir once again. Across the world, people are beginning to dream the same dream. They see towers of crystal bathed in golden light, pathways that float above water, temples where music creates color in the air. They awaken with tears in their eyes, unable to explain why the dream felt more real than life itself. Some feel a strange calling, as if the ocean itself is speaking their name. These dreams are not imagination, they are memory, rising gently to the surface of human consciousness. The prophecy says that Atlantis will return when humanity is ready, not through power or conquest, but through unity, peace, and the remembrance of who we truly are. It tells of a time when the old energies will reactivate, when the crystals beneath the sea will begin to hum once more, sending ripples through the oceans and the hearts of those who are listening. Not everyone will hear this song, only those whose spirits once walked those shining streets long ago.